Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
Kia
what I
ora.
thought we'd do is we'll have a look at what we do in the Waikato, what's kind of worked for me, what we can offer from the committee kind of to help you. And yeah, and then just, I think it sounds like you're kind of already on the way, Adrian. So anything else, that might be required that we can help you out with, yeah, and then do ask questions any time. But and I think you know why we want to do this, but we understand that digital technologies, quite often is a very small subject in some schools, and sometimes you're the only teacher in the school, and that can be really lonely. And or you're the teacher who's teaching music and digital, or and so being able to connect with people who are teaching the same subjects as you, can be really powerful. It can create some great relationships for doing things like creating resources together, or moderating, or anything else, or just even that conversation to see if you're on the right track. The committee is really keen to get regionals, the different regions empowered to be able to be more self-sufficient, and so we're really 100% behind this initiative, and so and it's putting in those supports to help everybody out. In the Waikato, so we've been running quite well in the Waikato for quite a few years now. What we do, and I mean, I know this is not going to work for everybody, but just to kind of give you an idea, we meet once a term. So, and I just picked, let's go middle of the term, week 5. Sometimes this term it was week 4, but sometimes it'll shift slightly. But if it's around the middle of the term, it kind of everyone knows to expect it then. We usually do a Tuesday or Thursday to not clash with too many other meetings happening. And we just do an after school. I mean, in the Waikato, we are all within a kind of hour drive at the most, apart from Ian, who's quite far away. But and so it's kind of achievable to get somewhere for a 4 o'clock start. So we just say turn up anytime from 3:30. I do set an agenda just so that there is a little bit of structure happening, and I'll talk about what that includes in a minute. And then the aim is to finish by 5. I'm usually leaving by 5:30, 5:45, because there's always people that want to chat. But and I'm happy to host at my school, or I kind of throw it out there and go, let's come to your school, or shall we go to the university, or shall we go, to this local meeting place, or is there, like a business who would want to support us this time? So we keep it open. Most people are happy to travel within the area. So and people are really keen to check out other locations and other schools, and what's happening in other places. So I do recommend kind of moving it around if you can. We have always tea and coffee available, and DITA funds an afternoon tea, just, a light snack. And what I do is I ask the host to organise that. So whoever is, whose, location it is, I just say, this is the budget. Can you organise that? And if tea and coffee is available, that would be awesome, and it can be that they've stopped at the supermarket and picked up a few packets of biscuits, or it could be that there is catering, by someone who's, close. It doesn't matter, and nobody really minds. They're just quite happy to have something, you know. So the agenda we have. Any questions about any of that? Sorry, Adrian.
Um, oh no, I mean, so my HOD technology, Rebecca, usually organises one for the DVC and technology teachers, and I sort of call and say, can you come along too, to all the Digitech teachers? So we kind of do it as a technology thing, but everyone's pretty much a teacher on their own up north. So there's not many of us, and we don't get a great turnout. So I don't know how to, I mean, maybe it needs to be online, maybe it's Zoom, but then it's difficult to, we're all teaching in a different way, and it's difficult to have a Zoom, isn't it? Do you normally do it physically, don't you? Yeah.
We do normally do it physically. I think there's that kind of one-on-one connection. And I don't think there's anything wrong with there being 3 of you, because that's actually so valuable for all of you, and usually what happens is word gets out, it's like, hey, or did you know that we meet up? Why don't you put it in your calendar and meet up with us, and once people know that it is, those connections are really valuable, it will grow. The types of things that I cover every time we meet, and whether there's 3 of us, 5 of us, 10 of us, 20 of us, I always make everyone introduce themselves, because especially if it's someone you're only seeing every 3 months, it's like, what's your name again? It's really embarrassing. I know that I should know you, and what school are you at? And so it just kind of takes all that away. I just say, please tell us your name, your school. And then every week I kind of do a prompt, not every week, every meeting I do a prompt, like, what's your win been this term or this week, or what's a cool AI tool that you've been using, or, like, I just do something that gives people something to talk about. And it is great to hear what other people are up to. That's that kind of in. We often talk about what's on top, so what's the latest that's come out, on the forum or in the news, or, depending on the time of the year, what's happening. That's usually our kind of go-to topics, because questions have come in, or and so they are things that people want to chat about. And often I do put a little bit of research into it, like I've got a slide deck, so I'll put links in there, so it's just, I feel like I'm actually providing something. And so then if someone's, like, oh, I actually really didn't know that link exists, or that website was actually there, it's a reference to go back to. So, but I don't put much work into it. I usually have a kind of a slide that I just keep in there, that's what's the events that are happening, because that's, it's a cool motivator for getting students into your subject as competitions, or events that students can be part of. I just, kind of keep those dates fresh in there. And those are also the kind of things that I might email out, to say, hey guys, don't forget you got to sign up for this, thing that's coming up. Or sign your students up, or whatever. They're the kind of things that you can help teachers out with. Anything else, I always have an any other business type thing, and someone will go, how do we stop all our students cheating with AI, and just throw out those really broad questions. And then I try and set the date and place for the next meeting. So that's kind of an opportunity to go, what should we do next time? Where should we meet? Is there anything that's, you want to discuss next time? So try and get that sorted. So, and we're generally pretty good at keeping it to an hour of this, I guess, formal stuff, so that there's time before and after for that more informal chatter, which is often just as valuable, So that's what we do, and I can share out the slides with people, and just some other kind of key things. I like to record who's who's attended, just so that I can kind of keep track and go, oh, I haven't seen that person from that school for ages. Maybe I should touch base and see how they're doing, if there's anything we can help with this, or maybe they've changed their email address, or, whatever's gone on. I do take notes, and I usually just write the notes straight into the slides so that I'm not kind of double handling stuff. And then I just share the slides with everyone on my list, whether they attended or not. And it's amazing, I'll get replies from people like, oh, thanks for that. I couldn't make it for this reason or whatever, but thanks, it looks like it was a really great meeting, and I've been looking for that information, so, and that when I share those slides, that's the only time I put everyone's email addresses in the to box. So that's the only time, that they can kind of go through, and if there was someone at the meeting that they want to catch up with, their email address is there as a reference. And so, so I just keep a spreadsheet of all of the names and the schools and the email addresses. And I don't know, down here, there's, people school jump every now and again, or student teachers go into a school. And so, you want to update those. So I try and keep that up to date. And that list is replicated in my mail group. So it's really super easy. I just type Waikato cluster into my mail, and everybody's in there. So that's easy to quick mail out people. And yeah, just sending some reminders. I send one out a couple of weeks before so that it gets into people's calendars, and then the kind of final information a couple of days before, just kind of standard stuff. And a map, like sometimes people are really scared going to new places, so go, send out, it's okay, you won't get lost, so so just kind of keeping it just, low key but formal enough that people feel like it's important enough to take the time to come. I've managed to get hold of some key people in our community to add to my list, and sometimes they can come and sometimes they can't, but they're then receiving the mail, so they know that we're active in the community. So I have got some university staff, and any kind of tertiary institution would be useful. We've got a Ministry of Education person who is the liaison between schools and industry, so she's on our list. And she quite often sends through things that are happening in her space. Sometimes we'll get in touch with some industry people and go, hey, I've heard you're doing some really cool space. Would you like to come and talk to our group? People are often keen to do that. They're often keen to hear what's happening in schools. So, and if they know that it's just oh, by the way, you only get a 10-minute slot to talk, then it's not too onerous on people. We've got an escape room here in the Hamilton, and they do student kind of visits. So they came and chatted to our group once, and that was really awesome, and that's created a couple of relationships between schools, and they go frequently now. So, things like that, if people are doing stuff with school groups, and especially in our kind of digital or media or web design or whatever space. I've promised not to spam people. It's kind of empowering having a massive list of email addresses, but I don't want to abuse that and be banned from their email. So I stick to 3 or 4 emails a term at the most, so that I'm still a respected email person in their list. So, and I mean, 2 of those emails are going to be for the meeting, so it only gives me an email or 2 of remindery stuff, because there's nothing worse than being like, oh, there's another email from Kath, what is it this time? So one thing, and we talked about this at the beginning, but I don't get RSVP, so I email out to everybody, and I say, come if you can. If you can't, I know things come up, and then people don't feel like they have to apologize all the time, and we're busy enough, and, if you put it in your email and something comes up, as there's a kid sick, or, the traffic's really bad and you don't make it, you don't feel like you're letting people down. And I think as a teacher, you're often quite hard on yourself. So it's one thing you don't need to be hard on. You'll try and make it, and that's your best effort. And whoever's hosting the meeting, so I'm happy to run through slides and prompt questions as the regional kind of coordinator, and I take the pressure off the person hosting. I say, you give us the location, the tea and coffee, and I'm happy to do everything else. If you've got a screen that I can put the slides up on, that's awesome, but otherwise we'll just make it work. So that there's not one person doing everything. That's what I found works quite well. And then, I'm also not the person telling everybody where the toilet is. I can concentrate on, the other stuff. So people quite like tours of schools. It's, they want to go and see your computer room set up, or so if that's on offer, that's, sometimes quite easy, and sometimes a walk and a chat is quite a nice kind of informal thing to do if you've got a spare 10 minutes. So that's quite an easy thing to put on your agenda. So but yeah, so that's kind of how we run things. And just some ideas, everybody's different, and everybody's, needs to work to suit them. So, so some ideas that you might want to take away. DITA is really, really keen to support the regions and get some nice, strong regions running like we have in the Waikato. And so we're really keen to help you out with things like contact information. So where members have contacted us, we can point you in the right direction with that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's just a matter of going online and going, actually, I know they're teaching digital at that school. I'm just going to email them, like a cold call, and hopefully you'll get a response. Sometimes you can pick people up on the DITA forum, so going on there and going, are you in Northland, or are you in, wherever? I really want to connect with you, is quite good too. But we're happy to help. Suggest, keep you in the loop of what events are happening, what resources are coming up or available, and other local things that we might have tucked into our little kitty of things. We can help you out with that. DITA has a budget for refreshments for your afternoon tea, so we'll help you out with that, and some ways of getting some feedback. It's quite important for us to be able to prove that we are making a difference in your teaching digital technologies life, so and for your students, so we can help you with that, and we'd like to stay in touch. So so we'll ideally touch base and find out how things are going, and how we can further support you and your region, and things like that. So and then we don't want this to be onerous. I don't see it as onerous for me. I don't put a lot of time into it. I receive emails and I send emails, and every now and again there'll be something extra, and I spend maybe half an hour a few days before the meeting to kind of go, what are we going to talk about? And, you know, put some slides together and paste in some links and stuff. It's not a huge task for me, for the value that I feel that we get out of it, is much greater than the effort required. So just keep an up-to-date mailing list, you know, just some kind of spreadsheet. We want to hear, DITA wants to hear what your region needs. We understand that smaller schools need different things to bigger schools, and rural schools need different things to town schools. So what does your region in particular want from us? And we want you to understand, like we said before, Adrian, you know, like a get together with 3 people is still super, super valuable. And I know that you kind of feel like, but where's everybody else? It's, I think, you know, for those 3 people, that is amazing. And next time it might be 5. And after that, it might be 7. So, yeah, so it is valuable. I mean, for example, in the Waikato, our last meeting, we had 20 people, but in term 2, we had 9, you know, 9 or 10. So it depends. Different things happen for different people. And so it's, yeah, if people are willing to make the time, then we'll take it. How are we going? Sounding all right? So, yeah, we just want to know, I think, you know, if anyone watching the video, if you're this person, we'd love to hear from you. Or do you know somebody who would be the right person in your community to do this? And let's get going for term 4, you know. So there's some funding available to make some cool stuff happen. So let's make it happen. So, yeah. Any questions? Are we?
Kia ora, Kath. That's awesome. What I might do is just stop the recording now, because then we can put that up online and send it out, and then we can answer Adrian's questions. Kia ora.
Was it a